This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
Several petrochemical producers in Asia plan to reconfigure their crackers to process more ethane to reduce costs and capitalize on rising U.S. supplies as they face thin margins and global oversupply, company executives said. These include South Korea's largest cracker operator YNCC and SP Chemicals in China. In Japan, Mitsui Chemicals is studying the use of ethanol at existing crackers. The change will allow operators to keep their feedstocks flexible, with U.S. ethane exports forecast to rise by about 7% in 2025. Ethane, a byproduct of shale gas, is typically cheaper than the more widely used naphtha.
Oil prices slipped on Monday, weighed down by Moody's downgrade of the U.S. sovereign credit rating and official data that showed a slowdown in the pace of China's industrial output and retail sales. Front-month Brent crude futures edged down 51 cents, or 0.8%, to $64.90 a barrel by 0630 GMT, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude dropped 45 cents, or 0.7%, to $62.04 a barrel. The front-month June WTI contract expires on Tuesday, and the more active July contract fell 48 cents, or 0.8%, to $61.49 a barrel. Both contracts rose more than 1% last week after the US and China, the world's two biggest economies and oil consumers, agreed to a 90-day pause on their trade war with sharply lower import tariffs.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Turkey has discovered a new reserve of 75 billion cubic meters, BCM, of natural gas during drilling works in the Black Sea, President Tayyip Erdogan said on Saturday. With this discovery, we will meet the natural gas needs of homes in Turkey for 3.5 years, Erdogan said during an event in Istanbul. The discovery, with an economic value of around $30 billion, was found in the GOKTE PE3 well at a depth of 3,500 meters, Erdogan said. Turkey's daily natural gas production at its flagship Sakarya field in the Black Sea has reached around 9.5 million cubic meters, as the country ramps up its energy ambitions both at home and abroad.
China's crude oil throughput fell in April from a year earlier, official data showed on Monday, due to maintenance at state-owned refineries and as independent plants curbed output amid poor margins. The world's second-largest oil consumer processed 58.03 million metric tons of crude in April, or about 14.12 million barrels per day, BPD, according to data from the National Bureau of Statistics. The daily processing rate in April declined by 4.9% compared with March, and was down 1.3% from a year earlier. Outages of the state-owned refineries this year are 100,000 barrels of oil per day higher than last year, causing a bigger drop in runs in this sector in April and May, according to Rystad Energy. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. China's crude steel output in April slid 7% from March, defying analysts' expectations of a rise against the backdrop of healthy profits and robust exports, but production was still reasonably high. The world's largest steel producer made 86.02 million metric tons of crude steel last month, flat with April a year ago and down from 92.84 million tons in March. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, showed on Monday. The April volume suggested average daily output of about 2.87 million tons, versus 2.99 million tons in March and 2.86 million tons in April 2024, according to Reuters calculations based on the data.
As the metals industry gathers in Hong Kong for its annual shindig, the focus will be on the large amounts of copper being diverted to the US due to President Donald Trump's threat to impose tariffs on the metal. Trump's efforts to upend the post-war trading system have roiled metals markets and opened questions about the trajectory of global growth and the flow of commodities. In February, Trump ordered an investigation into the potential for tariffs on copper vital for energy transition technologies such as electric vehicles and solar panels, as well as wiring for power grids.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Chicago soybean futures edged higher on Monday, with prices rising for the first time in 3 sessions on bargain buying, although improved U.S. growing conditions are likely to curb gains. Wheat inched higher as dryness in China's key growing areas supported prices, while corn firmed after last session's losses. The most active soybean contract on the Chicago Board of Trade rose 0.1% to $10.51 minus 1/4 a bushel, as of 0413 GMT. Wheat rose 0.7% to $5.28 minus 3/4 a bushel, and corn added 0.3% to $4 per 45 a bushel.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.